Ensuring that software is vetted and secured is one of the most important aspects of IT security. When a breach occurs, malicious entities have often utilized vulnerabilities found in software in the affected environment to plant malware or initiate some other type of attack. By taking proper precautions and following proper procedures, the United States can work to better prepare for an attack against software and ensure that all software in place is secure and clear of vulnerabilities. Software assurance is the level of confidence that software functions as intended and is free of vulnerabilities. In order to ensure that proper software assurance is in place, there are several things that must be implemented. Software must be kept up to date on all systems, ensuring that old and outdated software is not left vulnerable on the network. Software must be tested and evaluated prior to being released. In order to ensure vulnerabilities are identified and mitigated as soon as possible, software must be scanned regularly using the latest definitions available. Software assurance expectations begin during the development process. Ongoing conversations with the development team regarding features and upgrades are expected. Software is also expected to be up and available to users. It is also expected that requirements for the software be analyzed and evolve as needed. The current software development lifecycle model is the waterfall model. There are 6 stages which include requirements, analysis, design, coding, testing, and deployment. The system is not created until the later steps. This can create security concerns because planning can be done as thorough as possible, but it must be heavily tested to ensure the initial ideas were actually implemented within the system. This requires developers to ensure the testing phase is focused on security assurance, functionality, and vulnerability testing. When it comes to software, supply chain plays a large role. In the case of software, the risks of supply chain are not only the risk of delays in procuring software or trouble with purchasing or shipping, but with the software itself. One of the largest concerns when it comes to software is who develops it and who verifies the integrity. Without trustworthy developers, the organization cannot ensure that software itself is secure and therefore safe to introduce into the environment. As the U.S. federal government, another risk is the nations involved in the development of the software to ensure that software created by enemy nations is not implemented and given access to sensitive data. Another supply chain risk involves both hardware and software purchasing and procurement. It is not only important to be able to purchase hardware or software and have it procured in a timely manner, the goods purchased must follow certain guidelines and standards for use by the U.S. government. One of the biggest requirements regarding hardware and software procurement in the U.S. is the United States Trade Agreements Act, TAA, compliance. This allows government organizations to restrict procurement of goods and services to products that are manufactured or wholly transformed in the U.S. or TAA-designated countries. While this allows for the U.S. to ensure more secure development, there can be a risk regarding resources and time to procure necessary hardware and software. Vulnerabilities are constantly being identified in existing software. The best way to stay on top of these is by implementing a vulnerability scanning solution. A couple solutions should be implemented to ensure that all vulnerabilities are identified. A network scanner such as Tenable Nessus should be implemented to scan systems. This will identify any vulnerabilities in the operating systems as well as on software such as Microsoft Office or Adobe products. In addition to a network scanner, a code scanner such as Web Inspect should be implemented as well. This is used to scan for applications to ensure that it is written securely and cannot be easily compromised by a malicious entity. There are several different types of software that are available for use by the U.S. government. 3 categories are commercial, also known as COTS, open source, known as OSS, and internal. COTS software is a software product that is already complete and ready to be released to the customer. The pros of using this type of software is that it can save time as it has already been developed and is often ready for use immediately after installing. The cons of this type of software is that it may be too general and not meet the organization's needs. It can also be costly and lack ongoing maintenance or support. OSS is software that is available to anyone in the public and is usually free to use. People from various parts of the world contribute to creating and altering codes. The pros of OSS are that it is free and already complete, which can save time and money. OSS can also be altered as the code is available to the public. Cons of using this type of software include the lack of review involved in creating it. If it is not carefully reviewed by the organization, there could be vulnerabilities that could be exploited or even malware in the code itself. Support could also be lacking, which could lead to quickly outdated and unsupported software. Internally developed software can be incredibly beneficial to an organization as it allows them to determine and design exactly what they need to meet their requirements. The organization is able to make changes as needed and provide ongoing feedback to ensure that the software continues to serve its purpose to the organization. Cons include the cost of internal developers, as well as the potential to be unprepared to effectively develop software that effectively and securely meets the needs of the organization. After reviewing all software options, the organization has determined that an internally developed software application is the best choice moving forward, as it allows for more control and the ability to limit to known developers from known nations. By following an internal development approach, the supply chain process is greatly simplified. While the organization still needs to order and procure resources such as TAA-compliant hardware, the organization does not need to go through the process of ordering and procuring software itself. The software developers should work with the organization to determine what requirements need to be met by the software and what resources are needed to achieve it. Once this is done, the ordering process can begin to obtain any necessary resources for development, as well as what is needed for production use of the software. When it comes to software, costs can be high. These costs tend to increase when an internal solution is chosen. The initial cost of internally developed software is incredibly low, as there are no initial purchases to be made if existing hardware and resources can be utilized. However, the cost of the developers is something to be aware of. The average software developer in the DC area earns about $72,000 per year. Using this as an estimate, the cost of 4 developers' time for 5 months will be approximately $120,000. While this initial cost is high, the ongoing cost of maintenance and support will be incredibly low. In addition to ultimate savings in money, the pros of controlling the software development process greatly outweighs the cost involved. When developing a contract for software, even if the developers are internal, it is essential to cover all aspects of procurement, development, and maintenance. The need for TAA compliance must be documented in the contract to ensure secure resources are used for not only the development of the software, but the resources for the software once it is in production as well. In addition to resource requirements, a thorough service level agreement should be developed. This should outline the requirements of the software itself, the timelines that the developer should be held to, required communication, how updates to the software should be requested, and what maintenance is included after development is complete. By creating a detailed and thorough contract, the organization can ensure the best result during and after the development of the software.